is a question that I want you to sit with for just a moment before we dive in. Who told you that you were the kind of person you currently believe yourself to be? Think about that, because somewhere along the way, probably quite early, and probably without your conscious permission, someone or something handed you an identity, a set of labels, beliefs, and stories about who you are and what you are capable of, and what kind of life is realistic for someone like you. And you, because you were young or vulnerable, or simply not yet aware that you had a choice, accepted it. You put it on like a coat, and then you wore it for so long that you forgot it was ever a coat at all. You started thinking it was skin. You started thinking, this is just who I am. And from that moment on, every decision you made, every opportunity you took or declined, every relationship you entered or avoided, every dream you pursued or quietly abandoned was filtered through that identity, through a story that was never really yours to begin with. Today, we are taking the coat off. And I promise you, what is underneath it is so much more extraordinary than anything that coat ever allowed you to be. Now, I want to acknowledge something before we go any further because I think it matters. If you have been living inside a limiting identity for a long time, changing it does not feel simple or straightforward. It feels threatening. It feels disorienting. It can even feel wrong in a way that is hard to articulate, like you are betraying something or someone by daring to see yourself differently. And that feeling, uncomfortable as it is completely normal. It is your nervous system doing what nervous systems do, which is try to keep you in familiar territory, even when familiar territory is not serving you. The discomfort of growth is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are doing something real. And real is exactly what we are here for today. So let us talk about why identity is the most important thing to change if you want your life to change, and why almost everyone gets this backwards. Most people approach personal change the same way. They focus on behaviors. They try to do different things. They set goals, build habits, create systems, follow plans, and sometimes those things work for a while. But more often than not, a few weeks in, the new behaviors start to slip, the old patterns creep back, and the person looks at themselves with a mixture of frustration and resignation and says, I knew it. I always end up back here. This is just who I am. And they are right. Not because they are doomed, but because they change their actions without changing their identity. And your identity, the deep subconscious story you carry about who you are, will always override your behavior eventually. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity every single time. This is why the reset has to go deeper than behavior. It has to go all the way down to the story, to the belief, to the fundamental sense of self that is either aligned with the life you want or quietly working against it from the inside. Here is the framework I want you to hold on to. Identity is not fixed. It is not something you were born with or permanently assigned. Identity is a story, and stories can be rewritten not instantly, not without effort, but completely and permanently by someone who is willing to do the work consistently and with genuine self-compassion. The new identity does not arrive fully formed one day when you finally deserve it. It is built one small, aligned choice at a time until the new story feels more true than the old one. And then one day you realize you have not thought the old thought in weeks. The coat has been hanging untouched in the back of the closet, and you are standing in the full light of who you actually are. So here is how we actually do this. 4 steps, starting today. The first step is to write down your current identity story. Not the polished version, the real one, the one running in the background. Get a piece of paper and finish these sentences honestly. I am the kind of person who always, I am the kind of person who never, people like me do not, I have always struggled with, I am just naturally, write whatever comes without filtering it. Because you cannot change a story you refuse to look at directly. Most people are being run by an identity they have never consciously examined. Today you examine it. Today you see it clearly. And seeing it clearly is the first act of liberation. The second step is to identify which parts of that story are actually true, and which parts are just old and inherited and no longer accurate if they ever were. Because here is what you will find when you look honestly. Some of what you wrote is real. Some of it is genuinely you, and it deserves to stay. But some of it, maybe a lot of it, is a story you absorbed from someone else's fear, or someone else's limitation, or a painful experience that taught you something that was only true in that specific context and has been overgeneralizing ever since. Separate the truth from the inheritance. Keep the truth. Release the inheritance with love and without guilt. The third step is to write the identity you are choosing to step into. Not the fantasy version. Not the version that requires everything in your life to be perfect first. The version that is just slightly more expanded than where you currently are. The version your nervous system can actually begin to receive without immediately rejecting it as delusional. I am someone who is learning to trust themselves. I am someone who takes care of their finances with increasing confidence and skill. I am someone who shows up for their dreams even when it is uncomfortable. I am someone who is worthy of love, abundance, and genuine ease. Write it in the present tense. Write it as if it is already beginning to be true, because it is. The moment you choose it, it begins to be true. The fourth step is to make one decision every single day from the perspective of your new identity rather than your old one. Not 100 decisions, one. Because identity is not rebuilt in grand gestures. It is rebuilt in small, consistent moments of choosing differently. Your old identity would not make the call. Your new identity makes the call. Your old identity would deflect the compliment. Your new identity receives it graciously. Your old identity would talk itself out of the opportunity. Your new identity sends the application. One decision every day. Compounded over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, becomes an entirely different relationship with yourself. Becomes an entirely different life. I also want to say something about the moments when you slip back into the old identity, because you will, not because you are failing, because you are human And humans have neural pathways that were built over years, and they do not restructure overnight. When you slip back, and you will notice it because it will feel smaller than you now know yourself to be, I want you to respond not with shame or self-recrimination, but with gentle curiosity. That was the old story. I see it. I understand why it showed up. And I choose the new one. That is all. No drama, no spiral. Just a quiet redirection back to the person you are becoming. Here is your call to action right now before this video ends. Get a piece of paper or open your notes app and write one sentence that describes the identity you are choosing to step into today. Just one sentence. Make it present tense. Make it true enough to feel possible and expansive enough to feel like growth. And then make one decision today. Just one that the person in that sentence would make. That is the whole assignment. One sentence, one decision, today. Come to the comments and share your new identity sentence. Declare it publicly, because there is something that happens when you say who you are becoming out loud in community with other people on the same journey. It becomes more real. It becomes more yours. And it becomes harder to take back. Subscribe for more deep and honest conversations every single week, because this is the work that actually changes lives. And I am not done with you yet. Share this video with one person who has been living inside a story that was never truly theirs. And remember this always. You are not who you were told you were. You are not who your past has suggested you are. You are who you choose to become. Starting right now, in this moment, with this decision, go make it.